right, Sean, I want to ask you about Kentucky's performance on Saturday really quick, because I know you got something to say about that. How impressive is it to walk into that building in Fog Allen Fieldhouse when there's 18,000 people in that arena? You're playing 8-on-5. We all know it. I don't know if you guys can say it, but we all know it. How impressed were you with what Kentucky was able to do?
Very impressed. And what it reminds you of is the games that Kentucky has lost this year have been hard fought battles on the road against some great teams, but they've had an injury and multiple injuries in those games to what I think makes their team great. And that is they not only have one terrific point guard on the court, Rob, they have two. And Rob, you've been following UConn forever. Okay. When you think back to their national championship teams, especially with Kemba, there's not just one primary ball handler out there, there's two. And if you study the NCAA tournament and the Final Four, we can, off the top of our head, Duke comes to mind of teams that not only has that one point guard, but they have that second guy. And Kentucky has that in a huge way. You know, they complement each other. They can do it on defense. They can do it on offense. Ty physically is much bigger, so he can guard the player off the ball. And I think when you watch those two guys play, like when you watch Kentucky, they have an amazing pace to their game. Well, one of the things that helps their pace is they have multiple guys that can make the pass. They have multiple guys that can push it at breakneck speed. And it's like the sign of a great point guard is he makes the game easier for everybody else on the team. In Kentucky's case, they got that times two. And when they have been healthy, they have not lost. And we talked about it on some of these podcasts in the past. Remember how they began in November, how they looked. Think about how they've evolved. And when I saw them against Tennessee at Rupp Arena score 60 points and a half, Tennessee is one of the nation's elite defensive teams, and they put 60 on them in a half. They made it look easy, but again, they were healthy. And I think that as much as we want to say, man, that was a tough loss for Kansas at home on Saturday, I think who's the team that's trending the right way right now nationally? I got to start with Kentucky.
I want to elaborate on a point that you just made about the 2-point guards, because I have the list. All right. You ready? In 2021, Butler won with Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell in the backcourt. 2020, there's no tournament. 2019, Virginia wins. They have Kihei Clark and Ty Jerome. 2018, it's Villanova, and they have Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges and Dante DiVincenzo. They basically play with 4 point guards out there. In 2017, it's Joel Berry and Nate Britt at North Carolina. 2016, Jalen Brunson, Ryan Archidiakono. 2015 at Duke, you have Tyus Jones and Quinn Cook. In 2014, it was Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatwright for UConn. In 2013 with Louisville, it was Russ Smith and Peyton Siva. 2012, Kentucky is the last one where you didn't have 2 point guards. And that team had Anthony Davis and Michael K. Gilchrist, the top 2 picks. I can keep going if you want.
No, Rob, hey, look, the point you're making, and you're only naming the eventual champion, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just
champion. If you fill in like who else is in the Final Four, you know, a few years ago when Gonzaga, after all the great years they've had, finally broke into the Final Four, they had 2 point guards on their team. Mm-hmm. Under Coach Williams at Carolina, when they had their best runs, Carolina, they had more than one on the court. And I think I think about Ohio State when Thad Matta was the coach. You know, as much as everybody was enamored that year with Michael Conley Jr. and Greg Oden and that crew. I mean, Arch, you know this better than anybody. Jamar Butler, an all Big Ten point guard, was right next to Michael Conley. Yep. And I think that no doubt Baylor's the great example from a year and really the last couple of years. It really makes it hard. At Arizona, it's something that we were trending towards doing. I wish, trust me, there's a lot of things you go, hey, if I could do it again, what you would do. But I wish in some of our recruiting success, we would have thought that way at an earlier time. But the way the game has moved, it helps offense. And in the case of Kentucky, Arch, I think you agree with me. Those 2 guards really complement each other on defense as well. Wheeler, he picks up full court. He is a pest. He's quick on quick. And Ty is a big, strong, physical guy that can guard different people off the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Wheeler's done for those guys, and then he was probably the biggest key component in those two losses of going out of the games, and then they lose Ty. But, you know, those two guys had 13 assists and 4 turnovers on the road. And that's, you go to Kansas, you go to Lawrence, you go into Fog Allen, and you play with your 2 guards for 40 minutes with 13 assists and 4 turnovers. That's great. As a team, they had 19 assists and 9 turnovers, you know. And I think the thing about Kentucky, which is really unique, is, you know, Keon Brooks had an amazing game. But I think it just goes to show you, if they can get production from him and Toppin, there's really not many teams that can beat him. You know, really, you're going to have to play really well to beat Kentucky if they get production from that 4th player, because their 3 guards are all productive, whether it's Wheeler, Ty, Grady, and then you have Oscar doing his thing. That 4th guy, you know, kind of that one guy out there, he can't go, you know, and have 2 points. And they got a huge game out of Brooks. They also got 11 out of Toppin. And I think you saw a complete picture of them when they're at their best at Kansas. And they're definitely trending in the right way. But, you know, I go back to the whole deal on what's making them so unique right now. And I think, Sean, you made the point, but Oscar's ability to stay on the floor, defend the other team's rim, and then the way that he rebounds on both ends kind of paralyzes the other team. You really can't get out and run a ton because you can't get a rebound. And then he's all over, you know, the defensive glass and the outlet. Wheeler, those guys are pushing now. Kentucky's really running. He's a unique player in what he's doing. And the most important player to any team that aspires to make a Final Four run is definitely him. He can't come off the floor. But I always say this, Kentucky's biggest weakness is their 4 position. And the other night, it was maybe their greatest strength.
Yeah, Arch and Rob, I want to make a point too. Like, let's not forget that a year ago, and I know COVID had the world upside down, but Kentucky won 9 games. And if you think about the players that they added in this offseason, and to Cal's credit, him and his staff, they did it a different way. Like, the other part I think that we need to address with Kentucky is they don't have 7 freshmen out there trying to win at Fog Allen Fieldhouse and trying to win the SEC this year. They don't. They have
Grady scored 2,000 points before he got there.
So you think about that, and plus the poise and the know-how and the understanding that he brings to the locker room to practice every day. Hey, same thing for Wheeler. You know, Wheeler's not standing next to Ty, and both of them were in high school a year ago. You know, I'm sure that part of what's really helping Ty develop is that his buddy and the guy that he's out there with and around every day has been through the SEC multiple seasons. So, and ditto for Oscar. We both know that he was well coached at West Virginia. He went through a season. I mean, this isn't like, hey, a year ago he was playing in the McDonald's All-American game. And I also think the balance of age and experience with that 2-point guards, with the nation's best rebounder, Kentucky. And the other part I would say is, nobody wants to vote for Cal for Coach of the Year because it's like, well, he has all these great players. Just think about what we talked about. They won 9 games a year ago. He changed a few things in his organization. He went about recruiting a different way. And I don't think anybody has gotten more out of their team, improved their team more, or has a team ready to go here in February more than John Calipari in Kentucky.